2018.
2018.
We did it! 2018!
Welcome to 2018, the podcast, everyone. The social commentary podcast that covers a different taboo or awkward subject each episode. We want to show that by discussing awkward topics, we kind of normalize them. We normalize the dialogue surrounding them and we make them less scary for the future. So who am I? I'm Louis Hanson.
I don't know her.
Am I someone who is qualified to speak about these issues? Most definitely not. But do I have the best intentions and an eagerness to learn? Most definitely. Did my dignity fly out the window years ago? Absolutely. So my first ever guest on the show is fellow journalist, social commentator, and dear friend of mine, Courtney Thompson. The first thing I wanted to speak to you about was your article on titty sucking.
Yes.
The article I'm referring to is one you recently wrote for Women. I'll include the link in the description somewhere.
So exciting.
So exciting.
What a topic.
I was so impressed by the depth that you went into researching and investigating the various perspectives you had in there.
Oh, yeah.
Professional expertise
Yeah.
in the art of titty sucking.
I take it very seriously. I take my job very seriously. People want the answers.
They do. What led to you wanting to talk about titty sucking?
Like anything really. You're having a conversation with a friend. Actually, we weren't even talking about sex. I've told people that we were talking about sex. We actually weren't talking about sex. It literally just popped into my head. I don't know what we were talking about. Maybe cows. I don't know. We were talking about something and I was like, question. When guys suck your tits, are they doing it for them or are they doing it for you? Because I'm a person where I get no pleasure out of it. Like it just feels like nothing. Like, cool, you're sucking my tits. I have quite large breasts. So it's almost like they're even more inclined to do it. And I'm like, I've always just thought that they enjoy it and that's why they're doing it. But in my research, I found that some guys do it because they believe that the girls really enjoy it. And some women do really enjoy it, but some don't. Some are like me. So
that's what I was surprised about because I always thought dudes definitely do it because they've been programmed to from porn.
Exactly.
Like seeing the dude like titty suck and then the female porn star is like loving it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when they go into sexual encounters like IRL, they're like, I'm going to titty suck because she's going to love it.
Exactly. And it's just like, as you said, we're all conditioned to believe that that's like the breasts are this inherently sexual side. And like titty sucking is almost like second base or something. Like you make out and then the top comes off, the bra comes off and you go for it. And then also there's porn. And I think the representation in the media is probably a really predominant reason why a lot of people go for it. But also the Freudian aspect. Like, that's definitely there. And
So, would you like to explain a bit of what was discussed about the Freudian aspect?
Some people, subconsciously or not, try to either recreate a nurturing kind of experience that they had as a child by titty sucking, or they're trying to feel or compensate for an absence of the nurturing that they didn't receive.
That's wild.
So it's it is wild. And definitely Freud would definitely say that that's why it's such an automatic response. But everyone's different. And I think that's like in everything that I've ever done around sex or even dating or relationships, like everyone is so different and everyone has such different preferences but we're always taught like this is the one kind of narrative and like these are the things you do in sex. This is what people get off to. And it's just like it's not the case. And like what results is just like anxiety, questioning, confusion. And it's just like ask the question. Ask a question.
It's true.
And it always comes down to that.
Because I thought that, like, I went into the article being like, yeah, like no one actually enjoys like titty sucking or the biting of the nipple. Like, I don't know, because I just thought from my own experiences, I was just like, it's more so of like a a show thing where
Yeah,
it's like
performance.
performance.
It's performance.
That was the word I was looking for.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
It's all a performance, right?
Yeah.
But then as like I read the article
Yeah.
and like some of your friends and stuff were like, I actually do enjoy it. And then I thought about, you know, my conversations with friends and I was like, no, it's true. Like some people do enjoy it.
Some people really, really love it. Like as I said in the article, there are some people who could get off to titty sucking alone, which blows
Wild.
my mind. It like blows my mind. But they definitely like they exist, and they're just as, you know, as many as us. But
And their experiences are just as valid.
exactly. What was I going to say on your point of the performance? I think that's also a huge part. Like performance. I don't think a lot of people consciously think about sex as a performance, but I feel as though it is. Like I think we should be approaching sex as a team sport, but everyone's approaching it as a solo performance.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, you just oh. Yes, 100%.
Like, that's just it.
And I feel like that's just because there's obviously porn.
Yeah.
And that plays one of the most major roles from the like perspective of a male who is like that performance anxiety kind of thing. And I feel like in a lot of instances that performance anxiety kind of overrides their ability to communicate with the other person and be like, what do you like?
Exactly.
Like rarely is there a conversation about what do you like?
Rarely. And I think that's like, I've been thinking about this a lot in the things like, what would I like to achieve in my work or my life? And I think I would just like I would like to have an impact on the way in which people have sex and like people being more compassionate and less selfish in sex. Because my very depressing worldview at the moment is that in order to have good, I think mostly for heterosexual, if you're having sex with a heterosexual man, I think this is kind of the case for a lot of people, but it varies. I think queers, I find, are a lot more in tune with this way of thinking and this way of considering sex, which is a much more mutually respectful and mutually pleasurable way of having it. But definitely heterosexual, when you're having sex with a heterosexual man, they are in it for themselves. And so you cannot have good casual sex with a heterosexual man unless you're being completely selfish. And being completely selfish, you know what like pleasures you, and you feel comfortable expressing that to them because they are not going to ask you. They're not going to try and do it themselves. They might trace the alphabet with their tongue on your clit and believe that that's their job done. Which is just like, bitch,
Tell 'em.
no,
Tell
that's not how it works. It's not how it works. But they're not there for anyone but themselves. And so you've got to approach it from the same way, which is kind of sad because I think sex should be about, you want to be there to ensure that the other person is also having a great time and is pleasured. But that just doesn't happen. I've had so many sexual experiences. All of my sexual experiences this year, in fact, have mirrored that kind of dynamic. It's really sad, but I think until we progress further in, you know, expanding the sexual discourse to these people and making them kind of getting them on board, in order to survive and have good casual sex, you just got to look after me, myself, and I.
You've got to ask if the titties want to be sucked.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's the thing is, I just want to. Oh gosh, I dream of a day where men actually think that that's the first thing that they should be doing.
Masculinity.
Toxic masculinity. Yeah. So
who knew that titty sucking
I was just about to say
would eventuate into talking about Freud? But actually, now that I think about it, it kind of does make sense. But I live for it nonetheless. But because I've always just like, you know, if someone's ever like gone to bite my nipple, I'm always just a bit like, no.
Yeah.
But that's just because I don't know. I just, it just doesn't
do anything.
No. For me.
And it really like, I've never had anyone go to bite my nipple, but I would be mortified if they just went to bite, if they bit my nipple without asking. Like, bitch, no, that hurts. Like,
Yeah.
please don't do that unless I
Yeah.
express to you, I want you to bite my nipple. Like,
Do you want me to bite on your balls? Like,
literally that. Would you like my jaw to shut while I'm sucking your dick? No, you don't do it to my nip.
don't do it to my nip.
But people just, they think like they have one experience with one person. And actually, when I was on the radio with that very bizarre man,
We have to talk about that. So you were asked to be on a radio show to talk about titty sucking.
But he was saying he had his first girlfriend loved having her like tits sucked to the point where she liked him biting them, which is so fine. And then his next partner, he just assumed that she would have the same response and the same experience. So he just went to bite her nip when he was sucking them one night, and she was like, "Bitch, what the fuck are you doing? No, like get off." And he was like, "Whoa." Like, wake up call. And I'm like,
I thought all
wow.
women like the same thing.
Like, oh my gosh, everyone's an individual with different like pleasures and erogenous zones.
Mind blown.
Actually, though, you should like have like a bomb being dropped.
Oh,
there.
I'll actually add that sound effect in.
Yeah, and but people do that. Like they just perform the things that they believe will like pleasure the other person without actually asking them. Like, some people like having their toes sucked, but you're not going to know that unless you ask.
Fetishes. The world of fetishes.
And there's so much stigma and shame around that. And
like, what we're not going to do in 2018 is kink shame. Like, that's what we're not going to do. We love a solid kink. Oh.
Because, like, look, as long as the sex you're having is safe, consensual, mutually pleasurable, it literally, it doesn't matter to anyone else what you're doing, because, like, all kind of, but there's not boxes to be ticked, but they're probably the most important boxes to be ticked. I would say those three.
Have you ever been approached by a man who, like, on some type of dating profile or whatever? Or have you been in any scenarios where he's kind of just said, like, look, this is what I enjoy, or like, this is my kink?
Yeah. The time where I've had a discussion with someone and it was fine and it was good was with someone who I was having kind of fairly regular sex with, and we were discussing what we like and what we don't like, and we were very open with each other. And we brought up the concept of kink and S&M, and I asked him, and he was like, yeah, look, I'm open to trying everything. He's kind of similar to me, but he was like, I don't think I'd be comfortable, hitting or doing anything like that. And I was like, that's fine. But you don't know these things unless you actually have a conversation with people.
Exactly.
And it's just kind of like, people also believe that they're doing like S&M or like kink when they're just not. Like, because the kink community is probably one of the best at actually having respectful sex, because they know how to seek consent, they know safe words, like they have so many different like rules and like things to do in order to make sure that everyone is okay at all times. And people who just walk into that thinking it's like whips and chains, it's not what it is. So, well, I mean, whips and chains can be part of it, but like that's such a superficial way of looking at things.
Of course. I mean, my stories were just quite bland. I've just only had people like, it's mostly just been on Grindr, just like dudes messaging me being like, I want to like sniff your armpit, or like, I want like you to suck my toes.
How do you respond to that?
I don't. Because it's a blank. Usually it's like a blank fucking profile. Or like for the toe guy, it was a picture, like a Google like photo stock image of toes. Like,
oh my gosh.
So like, I'm not going to reply to that.
Yeah, actually, I had this joke with this one guy who I slept with once. That he had a foot fetish, because he kept talking about people,
which we love.
Well, I was actually very open about it.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, this is fine if you actually have a foot fetish, because he would talk about people who had foot fetishes a lot, and he's like, I'm fascinated by them, and I'm like, are you fascinated by them because you're one of them and you're not like ready to like admit that yet?
Are you a closeted toe fetish
like
human?
I think he might be, but he was not also a very nice person either, as it turned out. But that's not because of his fetish that may or may not have existed. That was just because he was an awful person. Are we seeing a pattern with the men that I sleep with? Probably.
Same girl.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but we love.
I have had sex with a couple of nice men, so I hold on to those situations.
Yeah, I'm still searching. So we packed a lot. We packed a lot into this segment, and obviously because it is such a broad topic, I mean it covers so many things, right? As long as you're safe and as long as you feel comfortable, you should be able to explore. You should be able to ask questions that aren't being asked around you, and you shouldn't be ashamed of that. Anyway, so I'm gonna create a Facebook group for us beautiful 2018 pioneers. For the next episode, we'll be talking about crushes. Yeah. Okay, bye. Thank you so much for chatting with me and listening to my bullshit. I love you. I'll see you next time. 2018 over and out. Ow.